Welcome to Scramble Game Show. My name is Ife Chang. I welcome you to this show. Today, we have an interesting story to tell you. We have an interesting guest who is going to spend half an hour with us talking about two questions. These two questions probably going to be a surprise to you. The first question is, who and when, how America is discovered? You probably say, that's a trivial question. I know the answer. Hold on. Okay, we'll wait till the end. You tell me whether you have the answer or not. Then the second question is, where, when, and how the American Indians or our Aboriginal people in America came from. Okay, that one I would say you probably won't have a immediate answer. That is always been sort of questionable. So we are trying to spend this half an hour to talk about some evidences that we have discovered and shared among many scholars. And the guest here today is Mrs. Charlotte Harris Rees. She has been doing research on this topic for many, many years and has written several books. In fact, she's writing another book, which will come out soon. We probably will learn a lot from her just in a short half an hour. So stay tuned. Let's welcome our guest, Charlotte. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
We have a short half an hour time to talk about these two questions because we heard about your work and you've been on our show, talked about the ancient maps and your father's work and your work and how you connected with other scholars, sort of searching for the answer or proof for these questions. So here we try to summarize, okay, and you can sort of bring any point first as you wish, and the whole purpose is finding enough sort of a convincing evidence to answer those two questions as just posed. And I think that's so exciting. I hope that our audience will stay tuned and watch to the end. And nowadays, I tell you, when you watch TV, at least myself, I often have difficulty to stay on with the program from beginning to end because many the programs, I just find them that kind of boring. They are not informational. In terms of entertainment, sometimes it kind of not even very entertaining, but yet they go on and on and on. So let's talk about these two questions, okay? Where you want to begin?
Well, maybe I'll begin with my father. In 1972, my father, who was born in China to missionary parents and spoke Chinese as early as he did English, he found an ancient map, and he said that this indicated that Chinese came to America thousands of years ago, and it appeared that they came by sea. And so he did a lot of research, and he wrote a book about that. And at the time, I was very much a skeptic, and I wasn't really interested in it. And it wasn't until 2003 that I read another book, and it piqued my interest, and I thought, maybe my father was right. I better check this out.
The other book referred to your father's work?
Yes. Well, no, the other book I read was actually Gavin Menzies' book.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but he was saying that Chinese got to America before Columbus. So obviously, if Chinese came to America thousands of years ago, as my father said, they got before Columbus. But this other map by Gavin Menzies, book by Gavin Menzies said
1421?
1421, right. That year that Chinese had come to America. So that made me go back and pick up my father's research and contact some people, academic people, to say, okay, has all this that my father said in a book that he wrote in 73, has that been disproved? And they said no. In fact, there's so much more new evidence out. And so since 2003,
So,
I've
so
been
your father,
researching.
Hendon Harris, published the book in 1973.
Correct.
Yeah. He's passed away.
Yes.
When did he?
81.
Oh, 1981.
Right.
Oh, so it's quite a long time after his death. You actually picked up the work.
Right. For years, the maps were just in a box under my brother's bed. And so it was after I picked up
Okay.
Gavin
So
Mincy's book.
on the maps, that's number one evidence. On the maps, there are indications of locations that is already known thousands of years ago, and that location correlated with America.
Right.
And particular one is where California, the sequoia tree has grown there, and it was shown on the map and so on, right?
Right.
So that's one important evidence that showed this connection that 1,000 years ago, the Chinese have recorded in the map what has discovered in America.
Right. They recorded on the map, but also in other texts, mention of these enormous trees that they saw and
yes.
descriptions of the trees, which had to fit sequoia, that they had seen.
Then what would be the second sort of a area or evidence to point to this?
I would probably say DNA is the strongest evidence at this point. Probably it's the strongest evidence for all of us about our paternity. Some people are surprised when they do DNA testing what they find out. And I think that in recent years, several people have really been surprised. I brought up in the last program about Yo-Yo Ma, whose parents were the first generation, or they thought they were the first generation of his family out of China, and they had in writing all the generations back to 1217 in China. So it had to be sometime before 1217. But they were doing this TV show on American celebrities, of which, of course, Yo-Yo Ma is one.
Yep.
And when they did his DNA studies, they had recently done a study on Eva Longoria, just by chance. And they said, Yo-Yo Ma, you're related to Eva Longoria.
Well, explain to us what Eva Longoria is.
Okay, she's Native American ancestry, and she said that her family had lived in the area of Texas since before the Mayflower. So they had been there for a long time in that area, and yet their DNA shows that they're related.
It's very interesting. Yes. Yeah. So that's a very modern sort of evidence. Okay, and this evidence certainly can go on. And perhaps more people will, pursue in this direction.
I'm hoping that it will. I know that many of the African Americans have gone back to Africa with their DNA studies, and they found even what country they're from, what tribe they're from. And I'm thinking that in the next few years that this will happen with Chinese people and Native Americans. And the interest seems to be more from the Chinese side. Native Americans have many legends. Many of them still believe that they sprung from the land or something like that. But
well, that's partly because we've been sort of teaching people that is the theory.
Right.
So once you have evidence pointing possibility and otherwise, then maybe people will try to investigate and find out.
I'd like to tell you a funny story about this.